Code accepted.
Nuclear war, okay?
If you watched my last video about the way that driver updates are slowing down your video card and various other devices, it's time to look at another bit of happiness. This time we're going to look at the CPU and how your operating system might be slowing it down for you, whether you want it to or not. I'm talking about power management, and specifically with what's happening with Windows. Now, of course, one easy workaround is to switch to Linux, but not everyone can do that, depending on your circumstances, with what you're running, etc., software-wise. Especially if you're looking at a recording studio situation where your audio driver, audio interface may not have a driver that works for Linux, etc. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. If you're stuck using Windows, and it's probably the same with the Mac, I don't know, I don't use Mac anymore, you may find that your power settings change behind your back. In a studio setting, or doing 3D rendering or video editing, anything else where you, gaming, anything else where you need every cycle, every CPU cycle, you're going to find that there's a big difference between so-called performance mode and balanced mode. And for some reason, something likes to change it to balanced, even if you have it set to performance. And it makes a big difference, especially for something like 4K video editing. If you've got some plugins working, or even just if you're stuck with one of these newer cameras that's using a really crazy compressed format for data storage, and you need every CPU cycle just to be able to keep up with the decompression of the video stream, it's going to chug every time that the governor for your clock multiplier ticks down because it's not being used, not being called upon in that particular cycle when it's doing a polling of the bus. And no matter how fast they say it is, the governor, especially on the latest and greatest CPUs, it's never fast enough. And you wind up with cache misses, and it's just a terrible thing. So keep an eye on that setting. There are utilities out there that you can use to try to clamp it. But it's always a good idea if you suddenly find, even, I ran into this once with watching media, just watching it, not editing it or creating it. If you've got, again, a really demanding encoded stream using HEVC or AV1, and you need every CPU cycle, if you don't have $1 million GPU that's going to decode it for you, or even if you do and you're suffering from a driver update, if you suddenly find that things are getting sort of jittery or stuttery or glitchy or whatever you want to call it, it's a good idea to take a look at your power settings and make sure that it hasn't slipped back in to balanced, or worse yet, some kind of power saving mode. Not that we want to waste power, especially today with electricity prices going up every hour on the hour, with that convenient excuse of inflation. But that's another story.